Still living in the sorrow and learning from the pain.
Can you please stop? You're driving me insane.
Well, geez, I thought you were a fan of Stained.
Yes, I like Stained, but not when it's all I've been listening to and it's just the country crossover hits. Also, TGS is going on.
Yep, Tokyo Game Show. Basically, Japan's version of E3, or I guess Summer Games Fest now. For some reason, this is the first time I've watched it, even though I prefer Japanese games and Japanese entertainment in general, except for horror movies, which we do better, and comedy, which the Brits do better, and music, which we also do better.
So yeah, Tokyo Game Show. It's a lot like Summer Games Fest in that it's a bunch of days worth of stuff. So it technically started on the 26th of September, although because I'm an American, for me it actually started on the 25th, really late at night. Yeah, I actually didn't watch a whole lot of it live. Anyway, so the first two things on it were people talking.
Yeah, talk about an opener. For this, it turns out press conference actually means press conference. Whereas here in America, our video game press conferences are these big bombastic events full of announcements and lights and special effects. Here we have information, and lots of it, that doesn't matter one bit to the consumer. Because this is a press conference. So it would normally just be a footnote that might be at the beginning of something like, the big Summer Game Fest. Here, we got 2 hours of it. Fun.
So yeah, that should probably set the mood for the rest of the Tokyo Game Show. Instead of being bombastic and amazing, it's more subdued and, I guess, corporate. So yeah, the next thing is the first thing with any actual announcements. Gamirror.
What a way to start the thing. Gamirror promised almost 20 games, and the first 3 are RTSs. I mean, I guess 2 of them are city builders, but really, what separates StarCraft from SimCity other than whether the danger is from the inside or the outside of where you're building? The presentation is also spliced with this cute little story of a bunch of robots in a gaming facility trying to figure out how to make the ultimate game. And I believe the answer would just be Zelda Dungeons and Devil May Cry Combat. Darksiders was almost there, just needed a little more polish and 7 more dungeons. Speaking of good combat, here's The Awakening Risen. It looks absolutely amazing, especially after those 3 RTSs. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to check this out. Oh wait, it's only on Steam. Alright, piracy it is. Karma the Dark World looks like a pretty neat walking simulator taking place in the corporate hellscape. Problem is, it's an indie game, so the developer is probably a huge commie. Here's my thought process when looking at the next game. Ooh, an anime girl. I don't think she's legal. Oh wait, this is a 2D platformer. It looks a bit more gunvolty. Holy moly, it's a Metroidvania, take my money. It's only on Steam. Yo ho ho. Mercury Abbey. I was this close to writing it off as just another indie short film that was shoved into one of these presentations for no reason. And then I saw something that looked almost like Hollow Knight. Depersonalization. We saw no gameplay and just a bunch of still images of anime characters just fading in and out with a couple of effects around. I get the feeling that this is just a visual novel. Lost and Found, a game about finding things. This could either be a very amusing time waster or one of the most obnoxious things ever. Rewinder 2, and here I thought there weren't going to be any roguelikes. Dread Tomb, we saw no gameplay. This description is all we know. Fools, Maniacs, and Liars, ditto. Illusion Box, screw it. Too Tired to Die, this is a stinking mobile game. And then the robots come back and say that there can never be one ultimate game because everyone has different tastes. And that's true, everyone does have different tastes. And by different, I mean wrong. Alia, or Ala, or whatever it is, looks like a cute little puzzle game. You already know what I'm going to do. Kingdom of Cards, a card game that's also a city builder. I'm pretty sure that qualifies as an RTS and a roguelike. Garland My Story, that's a farming sim. That list is starting to get large. Diceomancer is a turn-based RPG where your moves are based on cards. So it's Paper Mario Sicker Star. And now we're on the last 2 games, and they look like, honestly, pretty interesting puzzle games. The first one is more of a horror-themed, Maniac Mansions-inspired romp called Candlelight Lament, and the other one is called Thought Experiment Simulator, which has a hilarious trailer featuring multi-track drifting. Also, both of these are already available, so I'm going to go do a thing.
Alright, so that was Gamero. Kind of disappointing because a lot of it was just RTSs, but there were some neat puzzle games. And that one Metroidvania, and that one, I guess Final Fantasy type thing. I don't know. So yeah, that was that. After this was supposed to be Ubisoft, but they dropped out. I wonder why. So instead, we've got the Japan Game Awards. I don't expect it to be as hype as Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, but it's still probably going to be something, right?
Yeah, this is an award ceremony in the most literal sense. It looks less like the Game Awards and more like my cousin's high school graduation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually just rented out a Baptist Worship Center to do this, because that's exactly what it looks like. I think the audience is sitting in folding chairs. Also, instead of having subtitles, what they did for the English presentation is they just dubbed over it with the most monotone and clearly still Japanese voice you could imagine.
And I started to play the game, and I was really into it.
And on the one hand, I would prefer subtitles because, for one thing, it would make it easier to edit, and for another, you could tell that there is some emotion behind the actual presenters' voices that's just dubbed over with nothing. But on the other hand, I want an anime that's dubbed using the original voices from the Japanese version who can barely speak English, because I think that would be funny. I also want to hear a Japanese person try to do Rosetta Stone or Happy Camper. Alright, now back to the award show. The first award given is the
Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry Award.
So they bring up the government guy, the Minister of Industry, Economy, and Trade. So the IRS. He comes up on stage and basically spends 4 minutes saying video games are important, including to the government. This is 46 years after Space Invaders caused a coin shortage, and the award was given to the PlayStation because of its legacy rather than anything it actually did over the past year. Okay? And now for the first award that goes to an actual game. The
Breakthrough Award.
The award given to the most innovative game of the year. And it's given to a game called The Exit 8, which I have never heard of. And honestly, I'm not really interested in it. And then they have the developer come up and blabber on and on about how I am an indie developer. This was made by me and me alone because I am an indie developer. And I am honored to have this award. And I get that the Game Awards were... They got a lot of pushback because they just pushed people off the stage instead of letting them talk. But honestly, if this is the alternative, I think I'd just rather have everyone have their mouths taped shut. After that is the
Movement Award.
given to the game that has the widest appeal. And you know, maybe it's just that I'm a gaijin white trash cheeseburger, but when I think movement, I think play control, not accessibility. The winner was Suika Game, a mobile puzzle game that's basically 2048 meets Puyo Puyo, and frankly, I'm pretty sure this is the only category where we even have a chance. And then they have the developers come up on stage and say a whole lot of nothing.
My characters are liked by the people and also the manufacturers.
And it's going to be a constant throughout this award show, and I'm starting to see why anime has such an issue with exposition. And now they announced the first of 12
Awards for Excellence.
which frankly sounds more like a military thing than anything. But really, these Excellence Awards are really just nominations for the real Game of the Year. And the first one is given to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of Kingdom.
I mean, Tears of Kingdom. I forgot. This is Japan. The word "the" doesn't exist in Japan. And also, this game came out in May of last year, which I guess is a good time to mention that this is based off of Japan's last fiscal year instead of this year. So instead of being from January of this year to, I guess, the future, it's actually from April of last year to March of this year. Still, though, I remember feeling weird seeing Smash Bros. Ultimate as part of the Game Awards 2019. Seeing Tears of the Kingdom as part of the Game Awards 2024 is even weirder. The next award for excellence goes to Street Fighter 6, and the developers made a big deal about all the accessibility initiatives they put. And I'm going to quote Robert A. Heinlein here. Accessibility initiatives are like demanding that grown men live off of skin milk because the baby can't eat steak. The next excellence award goes to Final Fantasy 16. And you know how I said that Tears of the Kingdom was my favorite game of 2023, but Final Fantasy 16 would probably change it if I ever played it?
It did not.
Yes, it did. You keep saying that the modern Final Fantasy games are the best of all time. After that is Armored Core 6. I can sense it. Every FromSoft elitist is squirming in their seats with excitement. And then Mario Wonder gets an Excellence Award. I mean, I'm not complaining that Nintendo's getting another one, but at the same time, that is another regular 2D Mario platformer. Like, sure, there's the Wonder Seed, but that's about it. I've played the Target demo kiosk, and it's not much different from a new Super Mario Bros. Game outside of the Wonder Seed. Although it is interesting that they mentioned that they actually took feedback from the players to decide what the Wonder Seeds could do. Am I the only one who didn't know that?
Mario is Japan's Mario and the world's Mario and also the Mario of the game industry.
Such insightful commentary from the Japan Game Awards. After that is Yakuza Gaiden, the man who erased his name. And you know, I am interested in getting into the Yakuza series, but at the same time, from what I can tell, after the 7th one, they turned into turn-based RPGs at the request of the fan base. And I have no respect for any fan base that prefers turn-based RPGs over actual gameplay. Looking at you, Dragon Warrior. Next up is a different type of award, the
Best Sales Award.
which once again goes to Tears of Kingdom. It sold 20.8 million copies international, 3.75 copies domestic, and honestly, that is quite the gap. I mean, I get that Zelda is more popular here than it is over there, but I didn't expect that much. Up next is the
Special Award.
which is just whatever's voted on by the selection committee. I have no idea what that means, and it was given to Street Fighter 6, so I'm just going to go ahead and pretend that special means special needs. Back to the Excellence Awards. Next up we have Yakuza 8. Just copy whatever I said for the man who erased his name. After that is Persona 3 Reload, a remake of a game from 2006 that, from what I can tell, adheres so closely to the original that it might as well be the same game. Why do these even qualify? Imagine if somebody came up saying, and the winner for Game of the Year 2024 is... Egg. On the other hand, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, despite being advertised as the second part of a giant remake of Final Fantasy VII, does deserve its spot because it's a completely different game from the original. And then Unicorn Overlord gets an Excellence Award. I don't remember a single thing from any of the announcements from Unicorn Overlord, other than the fact that the name is stupid. In fact, I didn't even know that it was out. And the final Excellence Award, because yeah, there were only 11, not 12, went to Dragon's Dogma 2, and I would like to correct something that I said in one of my previous videos. I thought that that was the game where you had to buy the ending as DLC. That was actually Azra's Wrath. Next up is the
Game Designers Award.
and for this, they brought up Masahiro freaking Sakurai to present it. And seeing him, and to a lesser extent Eiji Aonuma earlier, up on stage in this run-down shed of an event was quite a flashbang. And the winner was Viewfinder, a puzzle game about taking pictures and then using them to shape the world around you. It looks pretty interesting, and I actually want to play it. But also, is there really that much of a difference between this Game Designers Award and the Breakthrough Award from the beginning? They also have a pre-recorded message from the developer, and holy moly, it's a white dude who actually speaks English. They had to subtitle it in Japanese. Oh wow. And now it's time to wind things down with the final award, the
Grand Award.
for Game of the Year, this. So, of these 11 games, which one would you choose?
Tears of the
FF7 Rebirth. Don't you try that. I've heard you say that Rebirth is your favorite game of all time.
The Legend of Zelda. Tears of Kingdom.
Okay, so next up is the Xbox event.
That's gonna be fun. Alright, I'm running late on this editing, so let's just skip everything that I have already talked about in a different episode of Fish Game News. What are we left with?
Pardon the interruption, but it seems like I'll be taking over for the rest of the day. Yes, it's true. The Xbox event is mostly focused on stuff that we already know about and ports of games that are already on Switch. For example, it starts with Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta and then ends with the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters and the Mana games. But to say that that's all there is ridiculous. Although at the same time, the first new announcement is some ugly My Hero Academia skins for Overwatch 2. Does anyone even still play Overwatch? And then there's Tanuki Pond Summer, which... it's just a game where you play as a Tanuki and you deliver mail to what looks like an Animal Crossing village. Now, I like Death Stranding, but not for its gameplay. I like Death Stranding for its story. It's world building, and you don't get that in Animal Crossing. Thankfully, right after that is Threads of Time, which looks like it's trying to be a spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger, like Sea of Stars, which I still haven't played. Atelier Humia, the Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land. It looks pretty interesting, it also looks pretty generic, it also looks pretty turn-based. Azerbaijan looks like a mobile game, and it's got anime girls, and everyone knows you cross a mobile game with anime girls, you get gambling mechanics and underage characters. Bleach Rebirth of Souls. I have never seen Bleach, and no amount of convincing is going to get me to watch 366 episodes of Bleach. But that one sliver of gameplay in this trailer got me hyped. Sensuality Echo of Ada looks like a mecha game that's trying to be Nier Automata. All you need is help is the game that the other guy tried to pass us with the one thing that was original in this direct. But honestly, no. Although it is just nothing. What is this? Why would anyone want to play this? So that was Xbox. After this, they had SNK, which I don't care for fighting games. Koei Tecmo, which were just showing off Dynasty Warriors Origins some more. And Level 5, which already announced beforehand the 3 games that they were going to show off, none of which I really cared about. But after that was Capcom. Yeah, so you remember how in what wound up being the final ever E3, Capcom had their presentation where they just showed off 3 things that they had already announced and nothing more for 45 minutes? Yeah, they did it again. This whole thing was just Monster Hunter and reminding you that the Miles Edgeworth collection is still coming. And Capcom, I know that you want this representation within these things, but if you don't have anything to show for it, if you don't have a Devil May Cry or a Mega Man, don't bother! So yeah, that was Capcom's presentation, more or less. And with that ends the largely uneventful first day of the Tokyo Game Show.
Okay, I have no idea how that thing survived a gunshot.
I'm a ghost, and that's a hunk of plastic.
Okay, so, day 2. It was mostly just a lot of nothing. Like CESA, I thought I was going to have some announcements. No, it's just a bunch of talking. And then everything else, they were just showing off 1 game each, and it was never something that I was actually interested in, except Squaresoft, which was showing off Dragon Warrior 3, but even still, that's 1 game, and I'm not interested in just watching a full thing for just 1 game unless it's something like Smash Brothers. So the only thing that was actually of note was Sega and Atlas. Let's see how that went.
Poorly. It went poorly. Not as in there were any technical difficulties, as far as I know, but as in there was nothing that they showed. Like with the Capcom presentation, they were pretty much just showing off stuff that they already announced a while ago. The only 2 things that I didn't know about were Persona 5 The Phantom X, which is a gacha game, and Inotria, which is a Souls-like that's already out and has been out for a few weeks now. So what was the point of this?
So that was disappointing, and that was also it for day 2. We are halfway there, and virtually nothing has happened. Ain't that great? Alright, day 3. So, the first 2 days had a lot of stuff, but not a whole lot of things of note. This day only had 3 things in general, and one of them isn't even available in English, so instead, we got 2 things. The first one was the Sons of Wonder Night, the only thing in this entire show that I was able to watch live.
So here's how it works. These guys are giving the audience
Pico Pico Hammer.
and they're going to show off 8 indie games. If you like their concept, you shake your Pico Pico hammer to say that you like it. For those of you at home, it won't mean a thing, but you can join in too.
I don't have a hammer, but I do have this knife. It's got a nice rattle.
No Case Should Remain Unsolved, a puzzle game about trying to figure out a full story just using text messages. Let's Build a Dungeon, an indie game development simulator that eventually becomes its own game engine if you progress far enough. On Life, a god game that uses neural networks for evolution. Cinema, a game where you solve a mystery by going through a movie. Hoop Pizza, a game where you make pizzas by using a hula hoop, made by a guy with a really stupid face. Hyperwobble, a game that's played on a real-life dodecahedron. Last Standing, a one-finger death punch clone that they spent 15 frickin' minutes on. Esophagize, a millennial brain rot humor 2D platformer about old guys who can stretch their necks. And then some guy from Sony comes up and says, we're all about the indies when they have more censorship than Nintendo these days. And then some guy from Kodansha comes up. I don't associate Kodansha with video games. I associate them with
Ghost in a Shell, Attack of Titan.
Turns out they got this program called the GCLA, where you're given 10 million yen, or around $100,000 per year, to make a game. And now for the awards. First, 3
Poki awards.
to games that weren't even featured, given out by this guy, and 2 of the guys who got the awards didn't even show up. Now for the actual awards. First up, the
Best Technological Game Award.
which goes to Hyper Wobbler. After that is the
Best Arts Award.
which goes to Hyper Wobbler. And then we got the
Best Experimental Game Award.
which goes to Hyper Wobbler. Oh, by the way, none of us are ever going to get to play Hyper Wobbler. He's just going to put it in museums and never actually sell it. After that is the
Best Game Design Award.
which goes to No Case Should Remain Unsolved. And the
Best Presentation Award.
goes to Hoop Pizza and this guy's stupid face. And finally, the
Audience Award Grand Prix.
whoever gets the loudest shakes between these last 2 games wins, according to that guy's ear. And the nominees are Hyper Wobbler and The Mistake. I think it's obvious who the winner is.
Audience Award Grand Prix 2.
It's Sophia Gaia.
Esophagus won. I hate everyone. Okay, Baldur's Gate 3. I was upset over that because turn-based combat is supposed to be dead, but at the very least, Baldur's Gate probably won based on its own merits as a game. Esophagus is just Reddit. Reddit won over everything else. Actually get concepts for games. I hate everyone.
This is the world we created. This is the world that we destroyed. We have infantilized ourselves to an egregious degree. Our humor is based on what children, babies, are meant to consume. And if you think that's okay, I've got a little friend that'll teach you otherwise. You don't want to deal with me. You don't want to deal with me. I'm coming. I'm going to take all of you.
I think he's officially lost his marbles, so I think it's just best to just let him sleep for a while. And I mean, not much has happened for the rest of the day. All that was there was just a Puzzle and Dragons tournament, and I haven't cared about Puzzle and Dragons in years. So yeah, I guess that's the end of day 3. Don't worry, he's still alive, but you want to know who isn't? Me, and it looks like I'll be taking over for the day 4 of TGS. So another thing said that there was only one thing for this final day, but technically there were 2. It's just that the first thing, the Future Games Division of the Japan Game Awards, wasn't put in English. So in the end, we only got the final event, which was another podcast. Yep, it was just these guys talking about how much they enjoyed being at TGS, so there wasn't really a whole lot interesting. But there was a tiny bit. For starters, it turns out there was actually a VR component to this that I didn't even know about. I don't have a VR set unless you count the mobile ones, but that's pretty cool. But more importantly, they recapped all the award shows. That means the Game of the Year awards, the Sense of Wonder awards, which were still a mistake, and, most importantly, the Future Games Division award. And from the looks of it, I wasn't really missing much anyway, because it's just what games people are excited for. And if you don't speak Japanese, this might be mostly gibberish. I don't speak it either, but I could still grasp some of them, like Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, Persona 5 The Phantom X, Yakuza Pirates in Hawaii, I think that's Monster Hunter Wilds. Here's what Google Translate says. There's going to be a new Arknights, and that was the Tokyo Game Show. That was a pretty disappointing ending to an overall pretty disappointing show. But it was kind of interesting to see the differences in culture between Tokyo Game Show and Summer Games Fest, where our stuff is, of course, more bombastic and in your face. Their stuff is more subdued and focused on the press, which I already said back when the award show was happening. And I think it's an interesting reflection on the difference in culture between us and them. Whereas here in America, we're more focused on ourselves, we're louder, and we really are just here for a good time. Or at least I am. Whereas over in Japan, respect and hard work are everything. And if you don't bend over backwards for everyone and dedicate most of your time to your work, then you're ostracized from society. And apparently, they have a very high suicide rate because of that. I just chuckled at that. Oh man. So in conclusion, Japan is neat. I would never want to go there.
And that was the Tokyo Game Show. The death of the gaming industry is a worldwide problem. We are our own undoing, and everyone must die. And your whole voice of reason skit was dead before it even began. It's way too cheesy. Get out.
Isn't half the reason why you keep doing this so that your parents know what you like? If I keep this up, I'm gonna end up being a PNG tuber. Does that mean this is my persona? It's not even original. It was copied from Showman Action.